You're listening to the Assembly Call IU podcast and postgame show, the place where Indiana fans across the globe hang out online after every IU basketball game. If you want to get more out of being an IU basketball fan, then make sure you're subscribed to our email newsletter. Go to assemblycall.com/join today and sign up for free. That's assemblycall.com/join. This episode of the Assembly Call is brought to you by Crane Credit Union. Get a $150 deposit into your new Crane Credit Union checking account when you get e-statements, have direct deposit, and use your debit card. Plus, there's no monthly service charges and no minimum balance to open your account. Stop into any of Crane Credit Union's 14 locations or visit their website at cranecu.org for more information. That's cranecu.org. Crane Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. And now, get ready for another brand new edition of the Assembly Call. And welcome, Hoosier fans, to another off-season episode of the Assembly Call. I'm your host, Jared Morris, and I've got a little impromptu episode for you here on a Friday afternoon. Last night, as I'm sure you know by now, Durham reaffirmed his commitment to Indiana University after a meeting with Archie Miller. He tweeted it out last night, actually right as we were finishing up our recording of Assembly Call Radio. So we appreciate the timing, Al, so that we could mention that on the radio show today. But I exchanged some Twitter messages with Al, and he was kind enough to give us some time today and come on the show. And so just wrapped a nice 20-minute interview with him, asked him a wide range of questions. And I think you'll really appreciate his insight and just some of the things that he says about the type of player that he is, how he responds to people, who talk about how he's rated a little bit lower than some other guys, whether that helps drive him and puts a chip on his shoulder, what the meeting with Archie Miller was like, and just what kind of player he is and what kind of player and what kind of game he will be bringing to Bloomington. So that is all coming up right here on this episode of the Assembly Call. I will give you a quick warning. Al's audio isn't great the first couple of minutes, but it gets better after that. So you should still be able to hear most of what he says at the beginning, but just fight through it, and it does get much better after the first couple of questions. So without further ado, here is my interview with incoming IU freshman Aljamae Al Durham. And I guess, Al, let me start by just saying congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I think I speak on behalf of all IU fans when I say that we were really excited to see that announcement last night. What was it about your conversation with Coach Miller that made you want to reaffirm your commitment to IU?
He reassured that I was wanted at IU. Basically, he let me know where I would stand where I would play in his offense. I mean, in his style of play, where I would play, and how I would play, and how I would develop as a person and a man in his system.
Very nice. And I believe I read your dad said that you guys watched some film together, right, of some of his teams at Dayton?
Mm-hmm.
So was he kind of like showing you guys like Scoochie Smith and other guards that he's had and kind of how he envisions you fitting in on both the offensive and defensive end?
Yeah, he showed me all of that. He showed me how Scoot had developed over his 4 years and how he really took off when he got the hang of it and how he developed him and how he got him where he needed to be to perform.
Awesome. So what was your first impression of Archie? Was meeting him in person, was that the first chance that you had to actually talk with him, or had you talked to him before?
I've talked to him before over the phone and through text, so I know him, but it was different in person. I think it's just different meeting people in person.
Yeah.
I feel like that's better than just talking over it, like internet and text and all that stuff. But it was a great impression, great face-to-face impression. I really liked him as a person and as a coach, and I like his style of play and his system, and I like his envisionment for me.
And what, obviously when you first committed to Indiana and signed your letter of intent, you did that for Coach Crean, and obviously Coach Crean is gone. What was your reaction when Coach Crean was fired initially?
Well, it was jaw-dropping. It was a shocker to me. I couldn't believe it until I really went to go look it up, and I was like, dang.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have expected this to happen in a million years.
Yeah. And I, obviously then you announced that you were, you wanted to get out of your letter of intent, or at least have the chance to talk to the coach first. Was that just a matter of, kind of wanting to get comfortable with the new coach, wanting to explore some options? What led you to kind of want to take a step back?
When they fired Crean, I didn't know who they were going to bring in, so I wanted to get my release because I wasn't sure who they were going to bring in. Like, what if they would have brought in someone that didn't like me? Thank God they brought in Archie because he likes me, so that's good. But what if they would have brought in someone else that didn't fit me or didn't like my style of play? And then I would have been, like, stuck. So I wanted to take a step back and look and get to basically get a feel of what else is there just in case if they brought in somebody else different. But they brought in Archie, and we talked, and we hit it off perfectly, and I'm back at Indiana.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it was a really mature decision that you made, and a really mature way to go about it all. Obviously, we're all happy that you decided to stick with Indiana in the end, but I think that was the right thing to do. What? How are Coach Miller and Coach Crean similar, and how are they different?
Basically, they're similar in coaching-wise. They're both very highly educated in the game of basketball. They've been through things. They've coached under some great coaches. They've been through it. They know the game. So that's one way they're alike. And their personalities are a little different, I think. But I feel like they're more alike in basketball terms. And personality-wise, they're two different people.
Did Archie talk with you at all last night about his playing career? Because obviously he played at NC State, was a fantastic shooter, one of the best players in NC State history. How much does that mean to you? Being coached by a guy who's kind of been out there and done it, and has some skins on the wall as a player.
Because he's been through it. I did my research. I know about him, so I know about his history and him going through it, and him being able to have his track record of him playing in it is just something that you can connect with. Basically, he knows what he's talking about. He's been through it. He knows basically the ins and outs. So that can only help me as a point guard to come in and just basically learn from him and take in all the great knowledge he has and just take it in.
Yeah. We got, when I mentioned that we were doing this interview today, we got a lot of questions on Twitter. People obviously curious about you and how you view yourself, especially. And one of the questions that we got, and this came in from Brent, is do you consider yourself more of a combo guard or more of a pure point guard? It sounded like from what you said right there that you consider yourself a point guard.
I consider myself a point guard, but I can play off the ball if need be.
Yeah.
But I am a point guard. I'll play point guard, but if Coach Miller needs me to play off the ball, I'll play off the ball.
How would you describe your playing style in general?
Versatile. I can do multiple things. I play defense. I can score. I can get all my teammates involved, rebound. It's just a lot of things I can do other than just one. Instead of limiting myself, I like to expand my game as much as possible.
If you had to say what your greatest strength was as a player, what do you think it is?
My greatest strength is basically, I would say, probably attacking and slashing.
Yeah.
That would be my greatest thing right now.
I know just from reading scouting reports of you and watching video of you in high school and just seeing some of the stats, it seems like you're a guy who does attack the basket, that you get to the free throw line a lot, and that's something. Yeah, and that's something that Archie's guards were certainly known for at Dayton. Did you guys talk about that at all? I mean,
yeah, we talked about that a lot. He told me he wants his guards to be ultra aggressive, get to the line, get to the basket, finish, and draw fouls and shoot a lot of free throws.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, that connects with me perfectly.
Yeah. Now, what about shooting? Because obviously that's kind of been cited as maybe, one of the weaknesses of your game or things that you need to improve on. How do you feel your shooting is coming along?
I feel like my shooting is perfectly fine. Like, I can really shoot it. And I've been working on consistently knocking it down, so it's been coming along very well.
Yeah, very good. Very good. What about on the other side of the ball, from a defensive standpoint? What's your approach?
Defensive standpoint is basically not to let my man score. I take pride in and help defense and all of that stuff. I take pride in my man scoring on me. I don't want him to score at all. So I take pride in defense, and it's just a personal thing to me. Like, if your man scores on you, it's just a personal thing that to not let him score again.
You know, one of the things I've liked most about you since you committed is your enthusiasm for IU. And I noticed, on Twitter a lot of times last year during games, you'd be watching games and cheering on the Hoosiers. I'm curious, with that defensive mentality that you have, what was it like watching Indiana play defense last year? Because at times, obviously they struggled on the defensive end.
At times they had their lapses, but I feel like basically they had it together. It's just sometimes they just couldn't click. And it wasn't always on the defensive end. It was just sometimes it was just like some silly mistakes, I would say. Yeah. And it's just like they couldn't get it. But they clicked some games, and then some games it seemed like they didn't click. But I think they were perfectly fine. I think they had a well season. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. Like, they did a perfectly fine job, I think.
Why do you think sometimes teams, do click some games on defense and don't click other times? Is that a mentality thing? Is that, like, in your experience, I mean, you've obviously played tons of basketball. How come sometimes you click one game and you don't another game?
For me personally, I think it's just sometimes it's just you gotta want to play defense. I think. Yeah. I've always been taught you gotta want to play defense just as much as you want to play offense, and you gotta want to stop your defender from scoring. And it's just been a personal thing. So personally, you just gotta man up and be like, they're not scoring anymore. Like, they not finna just keep scoring so easily, or we're gonna do something to stop them from scoring like they are right now.
Did Coach Miller talk with you about that? Because I know he's mentioned a few times wanting to bring more of a toughness on the defensive end.
Yeah, he talked to me about his time that day and how they recruited kids with chips on their shoulders that, like, basically wanted to get after. They had a chip on their shoulder. They wanted to beat the big name team. So basically, just bringing that mentality to Indiana, I think, is great, honestly.
Do you consider yourself someone with a chip on your shoulder?
Highly, I do. I play with a huge chip on my shoulder because I have so much. It's just a huge chip on my shoulder. I just say that. I'll leave it at that.
Do you think that that's at all because maybe some people, have doubted you or not ranked you as highly as other people? Like, does that kind of thing drive you, or do you not pay attention to that?
It drives me. All of this is motivation to me, basically, to prove basically that numbers and rankings don't mean a thing. It all drives me. It's all just fuel to the fire and makes me want to succeed even more just to prove them wrong.
So how do you think, coming in next year, based on, and obviously there's still some guys that have decisions to make and we don't know what the full roster will be, but, based on, kind of what we know of the roster, what you know of the guys, your conversation with Coach Miller, how do you think you can come in and impact the program as soon as next year?
I can come in basically and be a point guard, be a decision maker, make plays for others, and score when need be. I can come in, get the wings open, get the ball in the post. I can come in, I can shoot, I can get to the rim, I can do a lot of things, and I can play defense. So I just come in with a mentality to do whatever needs be for my team to win, and I'll get it done.
Is there anyone on the current Indiana roster that you're kind of just dying to challenge and practice and go up against?
I'm just ready to challenge everybody, honestly. I'm ready to get there and just make my team as best as possibly I can. Basically get there and just work my hardest and push myself the hardest and just go hard.
For people who haven't seen you play, and certainly anybody who hasn't, I'd recommend that you check out some of the videos, and I'll post a few of those videos in the show notes. But for anybody who hasn't seen you play, is there anybody in college now or in the NBA that you pattern your game after, or that you think you have a similar style to, that would give people kind of a good comparison for what you'll bring to the table?
I try not to do that. I try to be myself, and I want to be like myself. I don't try to pattern my game after anybody because I want to be just like myself. I want to be Al Jimmy, Al Durham. I just want to be myself. I don't like to pattern my game. I like to keep it versatile and just play my game.
And do you prefer going by Al or Al Jimmy?
It is honestly whatever is comfortable with anybody. I'll go with Al, or if you want to call me Al Jimmy, that's my government name. I'll be called Al Jimmy.
And are you a junior? Is that your dad's name too?
I'm not a junior.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. And have you decided yet what number you're going to wear?
I would like to wear number 1, but if I don't wear number 1, then I'll have to decide when I get there.
Did you wear number 1 in high school?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So I guess we'll have to see what James decides to do, huh?
Yeah.
So how'd your high school season go this past year?
We fell a little short in the Sweet 16 to the team that won states, Tift County. So it ended a little short, but I mean, it is what it is. They won state, so hats off to them. They were a great team, but we would like to have gone farther.
Individually for you, obviously, you sound disappointed that the team didn't go further. How did you feel you did personally in terms of growing as a player, getting better from your junior year to your senior year?
Personally, I think I've grown a lot. I averaged 27-5, I think, my finish in my senior year. So I think I've grown tremendously from my junior year to my senior year, and it's just only up from here.
27 points, 5 assists?
20 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, 5 assists.
Oh, gotcha. 27 and 5. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. And who else did you get to go up against in high school? Like anybody that we would know that's playing in college now that you got to battle in high school?
Oh, not in high school, but AAU, I played against anybody you can probably name right now in college basketball.
And you played, correct me if I'm wrong, but you played at the EYBL tournament, right?
Yes, I played with the EYBL.
And I think just from looking at the stats, that's where I saw that I think you led the entire circuit in free throw percentage or number of free throws taken, right? It was something like that.
Yeah, me and Colin, me and my teammate Colin, we led the league in free throw attempts.
What was that experience like? What did you learn from going up against some of the best high school players in the country?
I've always been told basically that the EYBL circuit is just like, it's basically the top circuit, and if you can play on that circuit, you can play college basketball at the highest level possible. So me being able to perform on that stage is good. But knowing that I draw a lot of fouls, I get to the free throw line, is always a great thing because that's just free points, and it's just getting the defense in foul trouble. It's just a big thing. It's a big part of the game, and shooting free throws is a big part of the game.
How do you balance a willingness and a desire to take contact and to drive hard into the lane and be tough with also trying to stay healthy? Because, obviously you take that much contact, you run the risk of getting hurt. How do you maintain a fearless attitude but also, try and protect yourself so you can be out there for 30 games?
That's when the strength comes in. You got to be able to take that contact, but you also got to know when to go and when to just stop and just basically shoot a short jump shot instead of going all the way. And that's what I've been working on, just stopping and pulling up instead of taking all that contact, but also being able to take the contact and still go in without getting hurt.
Are you feeling pretty good with your pull-up or kind of your little mid-range floater if people start overplaying you?
Most definitely I am.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah.
So going back to your decision to come to Indiana in the first place, what was it about Bloomington and IU basketball that made you want to commit and that's had you so excited ever since you did?
Every time I came to Indiana, I had the best time of my life. No, I don't think any school compared at all. The school-wise, education-wise is great. The basketball program speaks for itself. Indiana basketball is one of the top programs known to man. I know that for a fact. And basically just the basketball and the atmosphere and just how the fans support them so much is just a great thing, and I loved it since day one.
What all games did you get to go to at Assembly Hall?
At Assembly Hall this year, I didn't get to catch any because my schedule conflicted with theirs, but I caught them at Ohio State and I caught them at Georgia Tech.
Okay. And have you been to a game at Assembly Hall before, though?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Were any of those games just going crazy?
I went to the Maryland one, I think, the year before this one, the last regular season game. I think that was for the Big Ten Championship, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to that game, and it was absolutely amazing.
That was a great game. Indiana played phenomenal that day.
Yeah.
What
Phenomenal.
what did you learn, if anything, from watching Yogi Ferrell play at Indiana? Obviously, he plays a similar position to you.
That I learned a lot from Yogi Ferrell, just watching him, how he got everyone involved, but also he was fearless. He did what he had to do to win. If it was scoring, if it was getting everybody involved, if it was talking on defense, he played defense. He just did everything for his team to make sure they were in a great position to win.
So as you kind of look toward the future now, I mean, this decision is behind you. You're ready to to be a Hoosier. What are you going to be doing in the meantime between now and when you get to campus, and when are you planning on getting to campus?
I'm working out 2-3 times a day, and when I get to campus, I'll probably be there in June.
In June.
So I'll be there for summer.
Okay,
yeah.
So good. So you'll be able to go through the whole summer program and get acclimated with the guys and everything.
Yes, sir.
Very nice. And how, once the season starts, how do you predict that first moment's going to feel when you step out, into Simon Scott Assembly Hall in front of all the Hoosier faithful? What do you think that moment's going to be like?
I feel like it's going to be like every person's first high school game first, but I feel like it's going to be more dramatic. I feel like it's going to be more meaningful. But it's just like everybody's first game, somewhere new. You get the butterflies. You just don't want to mess up. You just want to play your best. But I feel like I'll be okay. And I feel like I'll be prepared for the moment.
Yeah. So my last question for you, Alan, and again, I really appreciate you taking the time with us today. If you could deliver just a message to all the Indiana fans that are listening to this, all the fans that are obviously excited to see you suit up as a Hoosier next year, about what kind of player they're getting in Al Durham, what kind of player is going to be showing up to play next year, what would you tell all the IU fans?
I'll tell them they'll be getting an energetic player that will be happy to play with Hoosier across his chest, and I can't wait for the season to come.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, we again, congratulations on a great decision. We're excited to watch you in the Cream and Crimson next year, and have a great weekend, man. Appreciate the time.
All right, thank you for calling. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Assembly Call. If you want to support the show, please share the Assembly Call with a friend or family member who loves IU basketball like you do. You can also visit assemblycall.com/support to learn a few ways you can help, from donating to grabbing official Assembly Call gear to buying IU merchandise that you'd buy anyway, but using our special affiliate links, which get us a commission. We rely on the support of audience members like you to keep the Assembly Call alive and growing. Once again, the URL is assemblycall.com/support. Thank you, and as always, go Hoosiers.